Hi, I'm Paul Battaglia, and this is section 7.4, partial fractions. You know, when I get to section 7.4, I always feel like I need something to motivate my students to get them started, and I always want them to be aware of certain common mistakes that I see students make with this topic. So I brought Gabe and Brittany along, and Gabe, why don't you start us off? What are some things I could do to get my students motivated to talk about partial fractions?
So partial fractions in and of themselves don't seem like you're really doing much. You're just taking a fraction and rewriting it some different way.
Right.
But really, when it comes to getting into calculus, especially integration, that's actually where I learned about partial fraction decomposition. So once you get into calculus, it really makes integration easier once you understand it as a technique. And something that I like to point out to my students is really we focus on simplifying so much. And when it comes to maybe rational functions, we'll get them nice and simplified and they'll be in this nice little box, but they might be sort of ugly and kind of hard to work with. So an idea here is maybe let's step back and see, can we write this as maybe 3 or 4 fractions or rational expressions that are a little bit easier to work with in and of themselves.
And I think that's a great point. And some of the other things that I think I don't want to get lost there is, you know, Gabe talked about how, you know, he learned this when he was doing integration in calculus, and that may be something in it itself that you can motivate students with, is the idea that here you are learning this concept that there are some people out there who haven't even seen it yet and they won't see it until calculus. So, you know, I believe in you, I think you guys can handle this, and that's why we're doing it, you know? Brittany, what are some things that you want to point out to your students as they're going through the process?
That they need distinct linear factors. And then also, they usually get mixed up with solving for the quadratic factors versus the repeated linear factors. So the x squared plus 4 versus the x plus 4 squared.
Yeah, they're different, right? I totally agree, absolutely agree. And I think maybe the one other thing that students might even be wondering is, here we are, we've covered systems of equations for a couple sections, and now they're saying, you know, I don't seem to see the connection here. And the funny thing is, there actually can be a connection. There are certain fractions where when we decompose them, there's a need for systems of equations to solve for some of those constants that we need to find. I hope these tips have been helpful for you and that you find much success in section 7.4.